think that you've learned about yourself through all of this journey that you've had in all of these different places? What have you learned the most about yourself?
Wow, what a great question to start with. I guess one of the things that I would say is to get really comfortable celebrating who you are and not trying to be other people. Even though I've always been pretty comfortable in my own skin, I think we still have this image of, whether it's somebody we know or the perfect woman image, right, or the perfect person image that we think we should live up to. Learning that each of us have unique, beautiful skills to bring to the table, and that we should really lean into those, because that's where our best ability to serve other people lies. That's also where the greatest happiness for us lies, because we love it. We're naturally gifted in it.
Yeah.
That's really been a great gift to me in my life, I guess, is really leaning into celebrating who I am and also appreciating who I'm not, because then I can enjoy other people and their gifts and not feel threatened by them. I'm able to really enjoy what they bring and add and teach me. So that's probably a part of it. The other thing I would say, throughout all the businesses I've been in, a lot of business or interactions with people in general comes back to communication and skill sets that are transferable. A woman who'd never raised animals in a farm setting, a woman who had never had food service background, those pieces I had to learn, but the basics of how to run a business, the basics of how to interact with people, those skill sets transfer. So for me, I would say 80% of business to business changes can go with you. It's just that 20% where you need to learn the details of that particular environment that you're in. So that was another thing that was really helpful for me to realize my skill sets in the alpaca world actually still serve me today in my leadership business.
Who would think, right?
Yeah, that's fun. So I guess that's a couple of answers that I would say.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, and I love the part that you talked about. I think as you get to a certain place in your life too, you start to really trust yourself a lot more and realize that you don't have to be like everybody else, and you need to celebrate the gifts that you have and your uniqueness, and that it actually is something that really serves you much better. It's just a more authentic way to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's more fun. And also, we each bring something so unique. It's, one of the silly word picture analogies I use sometimes is a mountain might want to be a lake, but it's never going to be a good lake. And then we're missing out on that mountaintop experience. So it's the same with people. When we have these great gifts and we try to be something else that we're not, or that we're not as gifted in, then we miss out on shining the part of us that's really beautiful and exceptional, that people can benefit from more and that we can enjoy more too.
Yeah. Has there been an impactful lesson that you've learned that's helped you the most in terms of like starting your business or going through all of these different businesses?
I think having a central purpose has been critical for me. So for me, that's my faith. But also recognizing that from the hardest moments that you go through in the journey of life come some of the greatest learning moments if you're willing to embrace them. So an example of that I will give you with my current businesses. In 2020, I had given a large keynote to a large group of women. We had a wonderful event. My mother, my daughter, a bunch of other people that I had invited were there. Had a standing ovation. People are hugging me. Everybody's talking to me. It's wonderful. The business is doing really well. I'm having a great time. 36 hours later, my mother dies completely unexpectedly. She had no health issues. She had no medical prescriptions. Instant death. And she had been at my event the day before. So I pushed back a lot of the things that I had scheduled. My family was in shock. My father's in shock. He'd been married 57 years. How do we help the family come to grips with what just happened? So COVID completely destroys my business, because at that point, most of what I was doing was live. And of course, we know how that time went, right? Everybody was canceling speaking and trainings, and nothing was being done live. in 2020, then after that change with COVID in March, the business collapsed, even though it had been doing really well, because I had not at that point built anything that was set for virtual to speak of. Then a month and a half after that, my mother-in-law dies, and we are in the heart of COVID. The funeral is allowing 10 people to be present, so none of the grandkids can be at the funeral. There's just, in that little window of time, I had 3 major life hurdles, and I'm not even telling you some of the other ones that were happening. I think it's easy in those moments to say, I'm done. I want to quit. Or why is this happening to me? And certainly there were moments when I had those feelings. I would be lying to say otherwise. You can be pretty overwhelmed when things are hard. Walking through that, though, was some of the best growth I've ever had. And I remember being at a point of asking myself, finally, probably maybe June of 2020, why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I continue to serve? Do I believe that I've been able to make a difference in the work that I do in my leadership business with people? I knew the answer to that was yes. How do I find the strength and the resolve to rebuild a business basically from scratch again, right? Because at that point, we have no idea when things are going to change, if things are going to change. The reason I'm sharing this story, I think, is to really give the listeners the chance to recognize that these are some of the best things that can happen to you. Losing my mom was not a wonderful thing. I certainly would give anything to have her back, but great fruits came from that. I've had more time with my father, which I didn't spend as much time with him as my mom prior. I was able to recreate a business that actually is more successful, quite a bit more successful than the one I was building before, because I've been able to modify, grow, try things. I wouldn't have maybe done that had I not been pushed to do that. It also taught me a lot about my own resolve. So I think in general, it's just recognizing that these hard times in life, in business, maybe you're having coworker issues or issues with a supervisor or a difficult customer, or financially your business faces something really hard. There are so many lessons that can be takeaways that make things better for the next round. I'm really thankful for those days. I don't always love going through them, but I recognize the big value they bring.